Hey, welcome back to Web3 with Whitney. This is day 27. And as I gear up for, well, as I gear up for, as I approach 30 days of doing this show, I've been thinking about how I may do it differently. I definitely plan to keep going, and maybe I'll just take away this countdown of number or the count up of numbers. I'm not sure. I was looking at my thumbnails that I use for the videos, and they all just follow this similar format with the day in bold as opposed to the topics. And I was reflecting on how far things have come in just less than a month. And it actually really ties into today's topic, which is about finding safe and beneficial communities, because community being the key to my work and a lot of Web3, it's really helpful to examine, what does community mean to you? What's important to you in a community? Are you building a community? And perhaps even redefining what community means, because a lot of what community has meant within Web 2, the current stage of the internet that we've been in, I think that's shifting. And I think it's actually important for it to shift and for us to reevaluate it. A lot of people associate community with a group of people, which is certainly part of the definition. But to me, community is about equality. It's about a circular dynamic versus more of a pyramid dynamic. And yesterday and a few episodes ago, I talked about pyramid schemes and people's fears around that. And actually, just in this moment, I'm realizing, maybe this explains some of the harassment and skepticism and criticism people have about Web3, which is the topic of yesterday's episode. Maybe it is that fear or that conditioning and that association with community being a pyramid, right? And I believe I talked about this way back towards the beginning of this show, and perhaps it was in the community episode, how this idea of the shape of a pyramid, and generally that's some person at the top who's benefiting the most and people at the bottom benefit the least, but the person at the top needs all of the people at the bottom, right? And ultimately we all need each other, but I feel like everybody should be benefiting about the same. And that is true equality. So that's more circular shape is what I'm after. And funny enough, the word circle has been a big part of my day today on February 16th, because I use a platform called Circle to host, for lack of a better word, one of, if not my main community that I've been developing over a few years called Beyond Measure. And today is completely unrelated to Web3. Although, is it? Let me finish my sentence. I tend to go on a lot of different tangents, so bear with me sometimes. Beyond Measure has been centered in well-being and a circular community, and it just so happens to be on a platform called Circle, which is amazing. It's a phenomenal alternative to Facebook, and one could say an alternative to Discord, which I've mentioned before. I'm not the biggest fan of Discord in the kind of the chaos of it and the spam and a lot of the issues with it. So I've been thinking, do I want to have my own Web3 community on Discord, or do I want to keep it all on a platform like Circle? And I've even thought of integrating my Web3 work with my Beyond Measure community, even though they're quite different. But when I started on the Rally platform, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, give you an update on, a very exciting one actually. When I joined Rally, I want that to be rooted in Beyond Measure, because Beyond Measure has been my passion project, and I was trying to think about monetizing Beyond Measure so that I could better support it and add more to it and have more resources. But then I started thinking about the reward system, and that's actually been a lot more exciting in Rally. And if you've listened to a number of episodes, you know that I love to reward you for listening and for participating, for signing up for the podcast, subscribing to it, or sending me in questions, one of which is the main inspiration for today's episode. And I love this idea of rewards. I love the idea of giving back. And Rally has made it really easy for me in a way that I've never actually had access to before. And if you're brand new to this show, I'll give you some context about what Rally is. But just to finish my thoughts on this circular idea of community, I really think it's helpful to view Web3 from that angle and push for Web3 to feel circular. I think that there's just so much inequality in general, and Web 2 has had this aim of connecting people through platforms like social media and helping content creators and artists monetize. But on the downside, there's been so much of that pyramid mentality where there's somebody who has fame or success, status, money, and there's this almost like trickle down or trying to find the right word here. There's this sense of things degrading, like the value is lost as you go further down the pyramid, and I don't like that. It doesn't make me feel good. I don't like to be part of communities that feel structured like a pyramid. In fact, I was thinking about a lot about this yesterday. And I often think about this on platforms like Discord and Twitter when I'm learning about Web3, is that I get intimidated, I feel uncomfortable, I don't find value when it feels like I'm just lost in a crowd. And maybe you can resonate with that too. Who wants to be lost in a crowd? I guess that's a true question. Do you want to be lost in a crowd? Some people don't like to be in the spotlight. Some people prefer to just be in the audience listening and observing. So perhaps you find benefit in that. And sometimes I do too, I suppose. But I've always been somebody who likes to participate. In fact, a little fun fact about me that also makes me feel a little cringe is that I was voted as teacher's pet in high school, like in those senior superlatives. And I had to pose for a photo of me like sitting at the front row of the classroom raising my hand. But that's me. I've been like that for as long as I can remember, at least once I started to build my confidence. I am a front row student because I like to connect with the person that I'm learning from. And I get frustrated when I can't connect with the person that I'm learning from. And I've recognized over time that I want to always offer that connection to you and to everybody who's in my community. I don't want it to feel like it's exclusive or there are barriers or that we're not equal ultimately. And I've noticed myself being pulled more and more into that. So I'm going to touch more on and circle back, pun intended, to that thought process in a moment. But first, I want to give you some updates. And the very first one that I'm so excited about is regarding Rally. So I always try to assume that you don't know what I'm talking about, even though each episode that I do as part of the series builds upon it. So if you're brand new, first of all, thank you for being here. Second of all, if you go to my website, whitneylauritsen.com/web3, everything is there. One of my pride and joys right now is the podcast, which I'm going to talk about. If you're not already listening on there, I really direct you to that because I feel like that's the direction the show is going in. It started as mostly a video live stream, and then I decided to make the podcast, and the roles might reverse. We'll see, but I do like the video component of this. Anyways, if you go there, it's very easy to find the link to what I'm about to show you, which is the Rally platform. So if you go to rally.io/creator/well, or go to rally.io and click on the Discover Coin section, you can search for my name. You can search for the word well, WELL. This is my social token, my creator coin. And I'm super excited to share with you the price point that went way up. And this was true for all of Rally in the past, not even 24 hours. I remember it was really late at night when I went onto Rally and saw how much it had grown. So actually, I think I can show you on the back end what happened. Yeah, you can see the spike here. So in the activity section, it shows, and even the time, It was at about 8 p.m., I think Pacific time. I don't know what time zone this is in. It went up a little. Oh, you can't see. I'm blocking with my video. And if you're listening to this, you can go see the visual over at rally.io. But it had another big spike at 12:30 a.m. And I do believe that was Pacific time. So it went up. This is significant. It was 13 cents at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So that's awesome. If you have received Rally through my airdrops, if you've bought Rally and the Well coin, thank you for doing so, and congratulations, because we're all in this together. And this is another big reason I'm on the Rally platform, is that everybody is growing together. Now, your growth on a platform like Rally, just like anything else, whether it's stock investments or other cryptocurrency, your growth is dependent on how much of you own of something. So certainly this number may be more significant or less significant to you depending on how much of the Rally coin or the Well coin or whatever coin you have on, or token on Rally. And I found out this week there are about 280 coins that you can choose from. So I encourage you to explore this platform. Go into the Discover Coin section. There are so many amazing people, and they're always adding to it. I'm just truly blown away by this. In fact, Brandon Powell, who's part of the Los Angeles Rams team, which won the Super Bowl, just joined Rally this week, which is pretty cool. I bought his coin. And there's a lot going on. And it's amazing when Rally is successful. It's almost doubled my coin in value last night. So my portfolio went way up. And I think this is a great time to remind you to look into the platform. Why it went up, I'm not fully certain, but I am going to share some other Rally news with you today from their blog post, and that might give some context based on their partnerships. Before I get into that, though, I also want to share an update that I shared yesterday. So if you already listened to yesterday's episode, this is a little repetitive, but just a real quick update for you, which is that I added a true subscribe button. If you want to listen to the podcast, if you're already listening to it, this might appeal to you. You can enter in your name and your email address, and that will give you a page like this. I use a platform called Hello Audio to share the audio-only version of the show. And Hello Audio is a little different because it is based on a private stream. So unlike my other shows and other podcasts you're probably used to, those are public, whereas Hello Audio allows people like me to make their shows private. This may change over time. I may make it a public show at some point, but for now it's just private because I want it to be exclusive to those that are interested and not just like random people coming across this. It was never my intention, but I imagine, like I said, that'll change. I recently added the show to Spotify, and in order to listen on Spotify, you need to sign up through Hello Audio, and it's completely free. I'm not going to spam you. You just go to the whitneylauritsen.com/web3 and you enter your name and email. You'll also be added to my airdrop list to give you some Well coin. You'll get this page once you sign up. It looks a little confusing, but if you slow down and read it, it's very simple. You can add the show to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. And Spotify too just takes an extra step. I think once you click on here, you enter in this code that they give you. Everybody has a unique code. This is mine, so don't use that. I don't even know if it'll work if you tried to, but use this code and you can add this to Spotify and listen really easily over there. Also, just a little shout out behind the scenes. I received amazing feedback from iJustine, who I talked about yesterday on the episode. And the topic was on harassment. She watched the episode and said that she enjoyed listening to it and it felt fun and cozy, like she was chilling with a friend, listening to them tell me stories. And that inspired me to make the show even more conversational because I'm still trying to find my place in Web3. And I want it to feel fun and cozy and like you're listening to a friend. And that ties into today's topic about finding communities that resonate with you. Go for things. This is my first piece of feedback. So this question I received was, how do you find or decide what communities are safe and beneficial to spend your time in? And part of my answer to that question is to go with your gut. do what makes you feel good. I go on Twitter multiple times a day now. Sometimes I go on Discord. The reason I spend less time on Discord is it feels chaotic to me. I get very overwhelmed by it. If you join a bunch of Discord servers, you'll see what I mean. It's so much. And depending on how your brain works, because each of us process things differently, Discord could feel like complete overwhelm for you. It's similar to joining a ton of Facebook groups, for example, or a bunch of Slack channels if you use Slack. Or, people say this a lot about Slack is there's just so much going on and you're hearing the noises and you're seeing the notifications pop up. And certainly you can control that to an extent. So I encourage you with whatever you're doing, whatever communities you're part of, to go into your settings, because on Discord, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Slack, etc., all of them allow you to control some of your notifications and alerts and navigate that experience more. I'm still have to figure that out for Discord. But I think it's important to note, if a platform like Discord does not make you feel good, it might not be an ideal place for you to spend time in. And I've mentioned this before, but worth repeating, that there are some companies that are working to develop alternatives to Discord. And I've read a number of people saying that they too feel like that might not be the best place to learn Web3, but it is one of the main places. Now, an alternative to that I find really helpful is Twitter. There's so much going on Twitter with Web3. In fact, there's some news to share around that. I'm going to skip forward a little bit to this news. I really recommend this account called Watcher Guru. It's at Watcher Guru, Guro. It's got a little whale symbol, and it's linked in the description of this video if you're watching. They announced today that Twitter added Ethereum as a tipping option. I have not used the tipping option on Twitter yet. I think it's really cool. I think you just click this button right here. I tried it earlier, but then it was like linked to my Brave browser. So I got to figure this out more. I don't really know what's going on. But how cool that Twitter added Ethereum as an option. So you can tip people in Ethereum now, I think starting today. So that is not only a neat feature, but it shows how Twitter is very committed to supporting the Web3 space and entering into it along with all of us. So going back to this question about finding safe and beneficial communities, see if Twitter feels good to you, but you also have to be very mindful as you use it. So I'm going to show you a look at my Twitter right now. So I go in and I see my homepage, and this overwhelms me. It's just like so much going on. If you've spent any time on Twitter, you know how it is. It's just like, and how meta is this? I just scrolled past this video. My own video for those that aren't watching the video version of this. But there's a lot, and it's not even in an order that makes sense to me. I don't know if I can control it. It's kind of discombobulated. I think Twitter Spaces are awesome. I talked about one yesterday, but there's just too many spaces going on. But the spaces are also a great example of my advice here, where I would say follow some people just to start with. You can follow some of the accounts that I do. I've mentioned I have a Twitter list that you're welcome to join. If you need the link to it, just let me know. I think you can get it from my profile, but it's also on my website, whitneylauritsen.com/web3. If you scroll down, there's a link to the Web3 Twitter list that I created. And I still want to go back into it and edit it a little bit more, because my preferences keep changing in terms of who I'm following on Twitter and finding value from. But my suggestion to you, especially if you're brand new and haven't really used Twitter much ever or recently, is just go follow a few people. Just go with your gut. You can start with me. You can start with people I'm following if that's easy. You can check out other people I've linked to. Justine could be another positive person to check out. Start there and just notice how you feel when you read their tweets. Notice if they're giving you value. Track when you're liking them. I really like to use the bookmark feature on Twitter. It's so helpful to me. So with all posts, you can click this I think. Wait a second. Not that button. Oh, it's the share button. This one. So if you click the share button underneath a tweet, you can click bookmark and it adds it to the bookmark section of Twitter. I've been using that a ton recently. I think in the past, if you hearted a tweet, that would show up in bookmarks, but they've since changed it, is my current understanding. Also, you can click these three dots at the top of a tweet and you can mute someone, you can block them, you can add or remove them to lists. And I've mentioned lists are an incredible way for you to curate because you can go into your list, which is under more. This is my list. One of my favorite lists that I've been building and would recommend to you too is the Web3 mental health list. Anytime I come across somebody who is posting something related to mental well-being, emotional well-being, health, physically, mentally, I put it in there, but they're also simultaneously about Web3. So I've been looking for people that are talking about both because I'm very interested in the mental health side of Web3. So I made this list and there's just 38 people in there. I've been trying to whittle it away, like if adding to it, subtracting to it whenever it makes sense. And sometimes I just go onto this list and I only read the tweets in here because these make me feel good. So that's a way for you to start to curate your experience. You can do the same thing in Discord servers. Join some Discord servers and see how they make you feel. Leave them if they don't make you feel good. And I really want to emphasize the safety side of it. Something that has continuously presented itself through Web3 is the safety side of things. The biggest tip I can give you is to make sure that you consider any link before you click on it, meaning pause and really reflect. Is this a link that I need to click? Can I trust this link? And the reason being is there have been countless examples of people clicking on links on both Twitter, Discord, direct messages in general that are scams. And it's really unfortunate, some of the things that are happening, but I don't want that to scare you. So far, knock on wood, I have not been scammed yet. I think it's because I'm moving relatively slow through this space. And I think that's also an important thing to remember. Sometimes we can feel like we should be rushing and we have to get into Web3 as quickly as possible, but perhaps some of the scams are happening because people are moving too fast. So if you find yourself moving slow, perhaps look on the bright side and say, hey, moving slow is protecting me. It's helping me be very discerning about who I'm following and what I'm doing in this space. So hopefully that's helpful. I'll have some more suggestions for you as we go along. I also want to circle back to some updates. So one is Rally. Rally has a wonderful blog on Medium. It's medium.com/Rally Network. They put out an update yesterday, February 15th, and they shared some of their new launches, how they're sponsoring this event called ETH Denver, which I think started today or yesterday. And if you haven't been seeing all the buzz around ETH Denver, it's an Ethereum conference. They say it's the largest Web3 build-a-thon, aka hackathon, for Ethereum and other blockchain protocol enthusiasts, designers, and developers. This year's event features simultaneous virtual and in-person events. Ooh, I did not know that there were virtual events. And it kicked off on Friday. Oh, wow. So it's already underway. I've been seeing a lot of people posting about it. It seems like a good, in real life networking event, but I had no idea there was a virtual version of it. It goes into the 20th. So there's 4 or 5 more days, depending on when I guess, let's see, the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. So 5 more days of it. And I'm going to go actually check out the virtual version. See, this is another benefit of slowing down. I have seen zero mention of it being virtual because all the tweets I've seen have been about people going in person. But when you slow down and read something, that's where you get some good info. Also in the Rally updates is more information about Brandon Powell, who I mentioned. They do wonderful creator spotlights. So if, based on what I said earlier, you're thinking about buying some Rally, I really recommend subscribing to their blog and just seeing what's new on the platform because they always have wonderful updates and overviews of people. They do also have some great industry news, and I love these summaries. So one that is pretty big this week is that Forbes is getting into Web3 because Binance bought a $200 million stake in Forbes. They did the deal because they think the intersection of content, media, and Web3 is going to be critical in the coming years. Specifically, there's a belief that Web3 media tooling is going to grow rapidly, enabling new types of content creation and profit generation. So that's really interesting, especially if you're feeling a little bit skeptical or you know other people who are skeptical of Web3. Maybe send them along that article about Forbes that was published on CNBC's website. Also in here, there's some updates about Twitter. And again, I mentioned how they're doing the tipping, but it looks like they're looking at all sorts of different elements of Web3. The other cool thing is Cameos is launching NFTs, which will allow users to pay for celebrities to make personal shout outs. And this Cameo Pass, I guess, gives holders access to events, merch drops, and more. And that's starting tomorrow. I'm curious about that. I would definitely consider that. So here's another piece of information for you that's very helpful. Going back to Twitter. Whenever I see something like that, I try and go follow the company, the person, the brand on Twitter, and then I turn on notifications. And let me show you what that means just in case you haven't done this yet. So I will, if you go to my notifications right here, you can see at the top, generally, one thing I don't love about Twitter is it's like a mixture of all these different types of notifications. They do separate it by mentions, but it's, there'll be like a little symbol like, oh, you have a new notification. And sometimes I think someone followed me or mentioned me, but it's just a new post from an account I follow. Kind of annoying, but I try to let it go. And if you click on this, you can see a new notification from just 17 minutes ago from Web3 is going just great. If you haven't heard me talk about them yet, this is an account that documents the disasters happening in the Web3 space. And I've mentioned how I like to follow it to try to see some of the downsides of it. And this is fascinating. I encourage you to go read this. It is like there's a new post about someone minting a photo of a childhood photo to harass someone. Yikes. Try not to get too jaded when you see things like that because you got to balance it all out. But anyways, the reason I'm seeing that at the top of my notifications is because I turned on alerts for that account. So let me just show you how to do that real quick. You just click, there's a little bell here. So let me see someone that I haven't turned on notifications for. Let's say Fanzo, who I feel like I mention all the time. He has a great podcast called NFT 365 and tweets a lot of really helpful things about Web3, very positive person. You can just click right here to turn on notifications or turn them off. And again, they show up here. And the reason I'm bringing that up is let's go over to Cameo on their account, which is just at Book Cameo. Look at that. I thought there was like a glitch with my computer screen. I think this is so funny. It makes me like Cameo even more. It's so brilliant. Oh my gosh. I want to suggest this to iJustine based on the video that I did yesterday about like all the negativity she gets about Web3. Justine, if you're watching or listening to this episode, I think it would be amazing for you to do something like this. And if you're just listening, what Cameo did on their Twitter account is I don't know why this is making me laugh so hard, but they took a comment that says Cameo is the absolute stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And stupid, is that spelled wrong? It looks like it's spelled wrong, but is that how you spell stupidest? I don't even know. Is stupidest a word? Anyways, they'd made that their Twitter banner, and that is just cracking me up. I digress because the reason they came to their account is I'm going to follow Cameo. I'm going to turn on notifications. Hopefully I won't get spammed, but they will be launching their NFTs soon, and I just want to know. It's interesting though that it doesn't seem like they have a ton of information on their NFTs yet. Huh. Okay. Well, given that's supposed to be coming tomorrow, Cameo Pass, I would hope that tomorrow I'll get a notification and that will remind me to go check out their NFTs on OpenSea. I'm sure there's another way. Maybe if I go over to the OpenSea website, there might be able to be a way to turn on alerts for NFTs there. I'm going to look this up in real time. Oh, there. Okay, here we go. So I just found Cameo on OpenSea, and it's their account on OpenSea is called Cameo Pass. Oh, and you can click add to watch list. Oh, but I'm not logged in. Okay, I'll log in later. Once I'm logged in, I can add it to watch list, and I don't know if they email me or something, but this is their NFT. This is kind of cute. And it is about $812. Not that pricey in the world of higher end NFTs like this will probably be. I don't even know if I want to buy this, to be honest, because I don't really use Cameo, but I would buy it maybe for just the value of it. Like, I imagine something like this would be valuable. Could be wrong. Don't take my word for it. But this just seems kind of cool. But it's also interesting. You can see the whole transaction history, and it looks like all these transfers and sales are happening. And I don't know how. I guess you can make an offer? This is so confusing. Why does it say here that the tokens... I don't know. See, I need to slow down and reread it. Anyways, that's a little news for you there. And I've mentioned before several times that YouTube is looking into Web3 integrations. So stay tuned for that, because whatever YouTube's doing, I'm sure that's going to be a big deal. All right, a couple other things before I wrap up today. And if you're watching live, feel free to ask me questions. One is, I found this really cool metaverse project. This is called Evolver Meditation. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. EVOLVR. And it reminds me of the name of my company, Wellevator. So maybe that's why I liked it so much. But their focus is on people who are looking to evolve themselves. They offer live events in virtual reality to help you grow into the person you want to be. It has definitely made me want to get a pair of whatchamacallit, Oculus or whatever goggles out there. I mentioned this many episodes ago. Maybe I'll ask for that for my birthday. My birthday is next month. I'm going to add that to my gift wish list to get a pair of Oculus, because I just want to know what it's like to go to stuff like this. And what I don't understand, because right here it says Quest, PC, and Mac. So can you go into this if you don't have the glasses? I'm not sure, but they have all these events lined up. You can RSVP. They're recording them, I guess. This kind of, I haven't read any of the info, and it says if you don't want to be recorded, leave the event. Huh. I mean, it's fascinating. You can go on here and watch their little video promo for it. I just thought it was cool. And I found this through someone whose name is escaping me in the moment, but actually I think I added to my mental health list. So let me go find this amazing person that I would also recommend you follow for anything meditation related. And I think either this person is part of Evolver Meditation or they own it. And what was their name? I think it's Kenji Summers. Yes. This account's really cool. It looks like Twitter is having some issues right now, or maybe it's my internet connection, but I don't know. But I would recommend going to @Kenji Summers. That's KenjiSummers, and or you can find Kenji on my mental health list, and it's a lot of meditation related, well-being related content, and it just put me at ease every tweet I read from Kenji, and that was how I found Evolver. So I don't know exactly what their relationship is, but certainly involved in some way. Also, Kenji has this great YouTube video from February 14th on Valentine's Day, shared a meditation called Love, and I listened to like a minute of it thus far. Made a huge difference for me. I might go listen to more. And one last thing. I'm going to read out loud this Twitter thread that I've been meaning to read, and I think this ties back into the original theme of this episode, which is about finding safe, beneficial communities. This is a thread from @Justin Can or Khan, Kan is the last name, who said, I spent most of my life primarily driven by FOMO, the fear of missing out, even after selling Twitch. Oh, okay, now I know who Justin is. Here's how I learned to finally break away from the toxic cycle. And it's a thread about this that I feel like could be helpful for us all. Number one, FOMO is a parasite of the mind and is one of the biggest reasons why so many people are unhappy. It fills you with starvation that can't be satiated and distracts you from moving forward with your life. I remember working on my first startup and seeing all my friends partying or on vacation on Facebook. An uneasy feeling crept itself into the back of my mind, the thought of everyone else enjoying life without me. Wow. I want to pause there for a moment. I feel like that's very poignant and worth bringing up because, again, this is a theme that I've seen in Web3, which is seeing people doing things that they seem to be enjoying, but you're not enjoying. Maybe that's because you're working. You know, a lot of times when you're working on something new, you're so focused on it, you have to filter everything out, and you might feel like you're missing out because you're saying no to things. Or maybe you are just starting out and you don't have a lot of opportunities or things going on, and you're witnessing other people. Like right now with ETH Denver, there's a lot of FOMO, people that are missing out on this real life event where they're connecting and they're posting about it. I mentioned also the Gary Vaynerchuk event that happened recently in Los Angeles, how I had to battle my own FOMO, but ultimately made the decision not to go to the event for reasons I talked about in that episode. But it's like seeing everybody else enjoy life without us. It's tough, right? So going back to Justin's thoughts, I started getting filled with anxiety. What if I had made the wrong career decision? My startup's not going anywhere. And I assume he's talking about Twitch here, which is fascinating to look back on what it was like at the beginning for him. I've experienced FOMO on the financial side too, where my friends had invested in unicorn companies and I missed out. Another really relevant point for Web3. For any of you that feel like you missed out on Bitcoin, on Ethereum earlier on stock investments, on whatever else, on NFT drops like Bored Apes, and you're thinking, gosh, like all my friends or some of my friends or people I admire, like they made all these smart decisions and I missed out on them. That can give us so much anxiety. And that's why I'm so glad that Justin wrote about this. Going back to it, he says, even after I sold Twitch, I was looking at my friends who had started bigger companies like Airbnb and Dropbox, feeling like I had missed out on the success and status of not being the founder of a public company. The point is, it never ends. There's endless things to follow and complain about, no matter who you are. FOMO is the fuel for the hedonic treadmill, and here's how to unplug. Number one, name it, either to yourself or other people. Recognize that it is not a human emotion to experience. I'm experiencing this fear of missing out or guilt that I didn't do. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. Recognize that it is a normal human emotion to experience. Quote, I'm experiencing this fear of missing out or guilt that I didn't do something in the past. It is a human trait that drove us in the past to seek and go accomplish more things. Unfortunately, social media has hijacked this and exploited it against us. Knowing that it is natural will help you accept it and move on. 2, think about all the times you got something you really wanted, whether it was something you bought or a brand new job. Think about the lasting impacts that event had on you. You'll find the satisfaction from the outside world is fleeting and short-lived. And you know what? I can't agree more. This is actually one of the most common things that comes up on my main podcast. This might get uncomfortable, is how many times we feel like if we just get this one thing, we'll feel satisfied. If we just get this one thing, we'll have made it. But the truth is, it is very fleeting and short-lived. So it's not about getting that thing. Going back to Justin, he said, when you look at other people and wish you were in their position, it helps to go back to that memory of when you got something you really wanted. How did that affect your life in a meaningful way? 3, practice gratitude. Focusing on all the things to be grateful for is a great practice to help you be happy with what you have. Because the truth is that we are all incredibly lucky, even if you don't always feel that way. It could be the small things, like I'm grateful for being healthy, and other times I think to myself that it's wonderful that I got a cup of coffee in the morning. I'm incredibly grateful for my friends and family. If you're struggling with FOMO, one of the best things you can do is immediately get off social media for a while and focus on yourself. You are enough. Wow. Beautiful, simple advice and very helpful. So coming back to this question of how do you find safe and beneficial communities, I think you find it by people like Justin. When you read something like that and it makes you feel good, follow that person. Retweet them, comment, add them to a list, whatever engagement helps. Join their Discord server if they have one. Feel it out. And likewise, if you find someone on Twitter or any social media, Discord, wherever you're at in this journey, and they don't make you feel good, you don't have to stay. You don't have to follow them. You don't have to keep listening to them. Unsubscribe, unfollow, do whatever it takes. Protect yourself. And also this idea of stepping away is so important too. So it's really comes down to this choice of stepping into places that make you feel safe, slowing down to really tune into yourself to know, is this the right place for you? Is it the right decision? Is this the right crypto to buy? Is this the right NFT? Is this the right metaverse for me to join? Like each place is going to be relevant to you, because the truth is what is right is really relative to you. What is beneficial is also very relative to you. There is no one size fits all benefit for us in this space. It really comes down to just that slowing down, mindfulness approach, and just being present with how you're feeling that day. And on that note, you're probably going to shift a lot. I certainly do. I go through so many waves throughout my day. Times where I feel really low, times where I feel like I'm doing a horrible job at things, I'm embarrassed. Even last night, so many great things have happened with my work in the past 24 hours, and I've had highs and lows. I remember last night just sitting on the couch thinking, oh my gosh, like my recording was so embarrassing and cringy and it's not valuable. And I got in this weird spiral in my head. And then later on, I was like, you know what? I actually think I did a nice job with that. Or I'm just going to feel neutral. Regardless of if I felt like it was good or bad, what if I just decided to be neutral and it is what it is? I had the high of seeing Rally go up, but I will also tell you that since I've been on Rally since August 2021, that I've seen Rally drop down. I've seen it all different levels. The same is true with the stock market, right? It goes up and down. And I've had these moments thinking, should I cash out? What should I do? Should I buy more? That's going to happen to you constantly. So I just wanted to remind that it is relative to each moment. What is beneficial to you is constantly going to be changing. What feels safe to you may change. And please prioritize your safety above all in this space. And safety meaning when it comes to scamming, but also your emotional safety is probably of the most important, because crazy things may happen to each of us in this world. We may get scammed. We may be disappointed. We may make decisions that don't feel good to us. We may feel successful, but protecting your emotional well-being throughout is crucial to all of Justin's point. And it looks like he has a video on this too that you can check out. Lastly, speaking of well-being, I've mentioned before that I appear regularly once a week on a YouTube channel from someone else in the rally world named Joseph Jaffe. He has a show called Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous, and the episode today is part of his Wellness Wednesday show. And somewhere in here, I have my segment. I don't know where it is. Maybe towards the end. I don't know where here it is. Okay, so it's towards the very end of this episode, which I'll link to, or you can go to Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous. Today's episode is Tokenizing Communities with Jared Morris. And every Wednesday I submit a well-being tip. So if you want to hear more about well-being in terms of your work life and staying balanced and taking an approach to Web3 that works for you, go check out his show, subscribe to it. There's so much value, a lot of amazing people, lots to learn on there. And that's a community that I generally feel very safe in. He has a Discord for it too, if you want to join. And hopefully that's helpful to you. So I'm going to wrap up today. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. And one more reminder that if you would like any of the resources I've mentioned, most of them are over at whitneylauritsen.com/web3. You can subscribe to the podcast and the new setup there. You can find links to every platform that this is broadcast on. You can find the whole YouTube playlist of the past episodes. There's links to the Twitter Web3 list. I'm going to add the mental health one on here, I think, so that'll appear at some point soon. There is a button to get some Wellcoin if you want to buy some, or you can use two avenues to get some free Wellcoin, which is by subscribing to this podcast or asking a question and topic request like the person who asked me today about safe and beneficial communities. I'm so grateful for your participation. And I distribute Wally coins. I almost said. I distribute the Wellcoin, my social token on Rally, about once a week. So keep an eye on your inbox for those of you that contribute in some way or another. I appreciate you. I hope this is helpful. I'd love to hear from you, and wishing you all the best until I'm back again, which will probably be tomorrow. All right, bye for now.